so that's actually how I got pulled into it, because he asked me to take a look at a label that they were creating, and I was like, we're missing so many things. And then I started asking some questions, and I'm like, well, if you want to sell it, then we can't.
Okay,
We can't
alright.
do.
Remember,
we can't
just
do X, we can't do-
one fist for microphones. It's always
Yep,
the best.
it's weird. You have to kind of sit.
Exactly.
You know it's going to be a show when we're already talking and
Exactly,
chatting
yeah.
before we're even on air.
Judas says, Mike's so hot, really?
Judas'
Okay,
mic is already? Whoa.
Whoa.
So, but it's going to be a fantastic show that we have lined up for everyone this morning. As you can probably hear in the background, I'm here with Xavier this morning. We're going to be joined shortly in the show by Jody Mills, General Manager, and Bola Derber, the winemaker from Southwest Mountain Vineyards. We've tried one of their wines
We have, yes.
before,
Yeah,
so
we were very
fantastic
fortunate.
wines, beautiful location. So we're going to be talking that with a great local, definitely local,
Yeah.
right here in Keswick area, a great local winemaker here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So that we have that going for us. We're going to have our finance topic later in the show.
Much
Xavier's
lit-
got
yeah.
a couple questions.
Yeah, we'll see if I can remember all that after this.
After the one. Absolutely. So we got that
This is
here.
going to be great. I mean, I was already talking to them about, because it's just, Virginia is so different than some of the places where you grow wine. And so, the year is so specific to the flavor and the taste of the wine. And I can't wait till they explain that a little bit more to us, because that's the truth, right? It's just, because sometimes you'll drink wines from California, and pretty much it's so consistent. You buy a bottle, and almost every single year it's going to be that kind of flavor and taste and body. But here in Virginia, it changes, and there's a reason for that, and it's so important to know that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of our favorite things. I mean, we're
To talk about
definitely
wine.
Exactly.
And
It
drink
really
it.
is. And drink it. Exactly. Exactly. Already got some people tuning in. Dr. Elizabeth Erpe watching the show this morning. Caravello Vincenzo from Italy joining us this morning. So
They have
thank
some
you
good
for
wines
that.
over there,
They have
too, I
some. They have some good wines. Some decent wines over in
Italy.
Over in Italy. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. So that we definitely don't. I always love when we get we don't always get the international, but it's always fun to get the couple international that have found us and continue to.
Yeah, it was like 5 o'clock
to
in the
watch.
afternoon over there or something. I don't know what.
Yeah, probably about maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. So just that's probably sitting down having an espresso. But out here we'll have a cafe con leche in the morning, as we always recommend on today.
Well, they have the merienda, right? Which is tapas and things like that in Spain.
In Spain.
Other beer, so it can be easier.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're very excited to have you joining us on this kind of rainy morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia. But that's just a great excuse.
perfect for what
It's
we're doing,
perfect for what we're doing, which is grab your cafe con leche, get to your cozy place, watch some Today y Mañana, or in our case, grab some wine, get into a cozy place, and watch some Today y Mañana. So we have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be joined shortly in the show by Jody Mills, General Manager, and Bola Derber, winemaker from Southwest Mountains Vineyard. And so we're looking forward to that. It's going to be fantastic. Later in the show, we might have a little finance talk if Xavier's still feeling up to it after the first segment.
I'll be so happy. I mean, nothing to talk about. I'll say, everything is great. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. So it's a great show that we have lined up for everyone this morning. Of course, love being here on the I Love CVille Network set. A couple of big shout outs. Of course, thank you to our great partners, Emergent Financial Services, Credit, Sirius Insurance, Matias Yon Realty, Forward Adelante. Thanks so much for everyone who contributes. And of course, thanks to all our great guests. I can see people tuning in already. We already had a couple international, at least one international viewer joining us, and I'm sure there's going to be more on the way tuning in.
And very importantly, don't forget to like and share.
Absolutely.
Right? And subscribe.
Ask us any questions, comments you may have. I always read the nice comments to our guests. So be sure to be sure to do that. We always,
And if they're not nice, that means they're coming towards me. So
yeah,
those
they're
are
not
the only
nice
ones.
towards Xavier anyway. So
Those are the only ones you
that's
ask
the only time
online.
I
It's
don't
like, this is
I
what-
don't indulge reading them. I just read them quietly, and then Nick keeps track of them all. Back
Okay.
to all the constructive criticism of Xavier. Nick keeps hold of that back at the office.
That's right. It shows me the list when I get back there.
Absolutely. So, been looking forward to this for some time. How have you been? It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on with you. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm delighted to be back. And I know Michael does a great job, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, it's been busy. So, unfortunately, I can't always make it anymore.
But now we have that rotating
absolutely.
cast of characters.
Exactly.
For today, mañana, so that's been good. UVA baseball is continuing to do well. I always like to just give a shout out.
So this past weekend?
We took 2 of 3 from North Carolina, UNC,
Okay, yeah.
this past weekend. So that is always...
They're still scoring as much as possible.
Yeah, we still win. I think our scores were we won 12-10. Then we had one normally 7-3, and then we lost 14-12 or something. So
That's
if we
incredible.
lose, it's not because we didn't score.
That's right.
Put it that way.
It's
You
just
put it-
because the other team scored a lot more than we did.
Exactly. But it's a beautiful time.
It's almost
to
like
go.
football scores sometimes.
Sometimes it looks like a football. We've had a couple games where it's oh my goodness, that looks like a football.
So that's what's fun. I'll be honest with you. When you go to a game and there's a lot of runs scored, it's exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, spring baseball, you go out, enjoy the weather, enjoy the beautiful.
Yeah.
sights
It's been
that
a
we
little
have
cold
here.
though. It's been a little
It's
cold.
been a little
and
chilly.
A little chilly.
But we've had some nice, beautiful sunny days, though.
Yeah. Well, the
I have
game
to
we
say.
went to was beautiful.
Yes.
It's like almost summer that day.
Absolutely. So encourage people to check that out. And of course, another fun thing to do
Yeah.
when the weather starts turning beautiful and the sight and the spring is here, the mountains are here, is to go to some of the beautiful vineyards that we have in our area.
Such as, for example?
And
Give
we're
me an
very
example.
excited to have such as
Such
Southwest
as. I love-
Mountains Vineyards.
Yes.
So we're really thrilled to bring onto the show this morning Jody Mills, General Manager, and Bola Gerber, winemaker from Southwest Mountains Vineyards. Jody, Bola, thanks so much for joining us
Oh my
this
gosh,
morning.
thank you for having us here. It's exciting. I've been on set a couple of times, so it's nice to be back on
You're an
the
I Love Seaville
Network,
regular.
right? With Jerry over the several years. Yes.
Absolutely. No, we're really excited to have you both on. We've been looking forward to it for a while, ever since Nick
Well, this
put it on
whole
the
week we
calendar.
just kept saying, "Is it Thursday yet?"
Is it Thursday yet? Exactly.
I love it.
So for those who haven't watched some previous episodes, tell us maybe a little bit about yourselves and for each of you how you first became interested in the winemaking field.
I'm going to let Bola start. Since he's got the history, we're going to give you the front and
You get to go first, Bo.
You get to go.
Throw me under the bus
Yes.
first. Fantastic. So I went to university or college, whatever you want to call it, straight after school to study science, and it was suggested to one of my friends try winemaking. It's also science-based, but just a bit more practical, a bit more hands-on, a bit more outdoors. So I started studying winemaking with very little wine knowledge, and just fell in love with it, especially during the practice. You can imagine first, second year students, going out on wine tours and wine tasting. So yeah, what not to love? So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I started working from Cape Town, South Africa, and working in South Africa, but also have the opportunity to go abroad to do a few vintages in Bordeaux in France and in Italy and in Spain and in California as well. So it's a bit of an international experience as well. So yeah, that's.
Well, I wish
That's
I
my
had
intro.
friends that told me to do that. Wait a minute. Where were my friends?
I wish I had friends that would have told me that to do. Yeah. Back when he was
I
doing
would've-
that,
I
I was
would've
still
studied
drinking Sutter Home, right?
How about yourself, Jody? How did you first get interested in the field?
Do you know what? It's purely because of drinking wine, right? My husband and I took our first trip to California in 2008. And that was it. We were hooked after that. And we went from drinking the everyday wines to only really wanting to drink these really good, expensive California wines. And we've since traveled abroad and gone to different places, Italy, as one, France, Germany. And it's just been lovely just starting to get to know the wines. And then certainly being lucky enough to work for the Manning family, who owns Southwest Mountains Vineyards. I've worked for them for 7 years, and they've given me so many opportunities. And so when this opportunity presented itself, Paul came and said, "Would you like to do this for us?" And I said, Yes, and it has been an adventure and a half because we've built it from ground up. So
From no vines at all to...
Well, the vines were planted, the original vines were planted on the property out in Keswick in 2016.
Okay.
So the first, season of growth was in 2017.
Okay, right.
Usually it takes 2 or 3 years, as Bola can attest, for you to have these good quality grapes. And right out of the gate in 2017, he had beautiful Chardonnay grapes and beautiful Viognier grapes. And so the first year out, we were bottling wines, and those wines were, all made by Emily Hodson with Veritas, and that relationship with Emily lasted until 2022. She made our wines and contributed to the winemaking process all the way through that time frame until we brought on Bola last year in April of 2023. And so he was lucky enough to get here, be a part of us finishing this beautiful production facility, but then be there for our 2023 harvest and also have his full team. So it's been a wonderful 2023 and a great start to 24.
Absolutely. And how did you get connected? How did you get brought into the fold?
That is interesting. So I was at a property called Groot Constantia, a very historical property, the oldest wine farm in South Africa for many years. I was there for 23 years. And after that, I felt, you get to a point when it's time to go, your job's done. So I was at the point that I was ready to move, and then a friend of mine, he's a winemaker in California. He has connections here on the East Coast, and I shared with him I think it's time for me to just sort of do something interesting and different. And he alerted me about the possibilities. I found the crowded Southwest Mountains and connected with them, and then the rest is history.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you said
the wine world is small. It's amazing.
Yep.
We posted the position and had over 40 applicants from all over the world, it was we narrowed that pool down to 10. Very quickly narrowed it down to 5, and of the 5, we narrowed it down to 2. Bola being one of the 2. We brought Bola over, and he spent a week here with us, getting to know the family, getting to know the property, understanding really what the goals were, and it was a no-brainer. It was an easy decision for us.
That's fantastic. I just think just to show you the sort of the reputation of Virginia beginning to really get out there as a winemaker, that you did have 40 applicants from around the world.
Around the world.
Yeah, it's pretty
interested
amazing.
in a
Right.
position in Virginia for wine, because it's really taken just such a step up.
Well, and one of the things that put Bola in front and center for us is that Bola is intimate with his grapes. So you find a lot of winemakers who have vineyard management teams, and they're out there, the vineyard management teams are out there, and maybe the winemakers are out there, every once in a while, but Bola loves to be involved in the wine. So it's almost like you're a wine whisperer in a way, right? You got to know what's going on with your grapes. And so through the series of discussions, that was something that came front and center, is that Bola truly is interested in knowing what's going on with his grapes, because you can tell a lot about the quality and what's happening with your vineyards.
Which is so important.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the types of wines that you have, because I see a few here, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Jenny said, I speak grape. It's my secret superpower. So it's interesting. We have
Superpower.
we have a few wines that we brought along today, and it's quite interesting. Like I said, I've been here for a year, and to also get the feel for the other winemakers, varieties they love, and some of them they don't like so much. So we have Chardonnay. Chardonnay is obviously it's big international, but we found that the Chardonnays in Virginia, again, there's something special about the Chardonnays here. So we had a little bit planted some more a few years later, planting some more next month. Okay. So Chardonnay is doing really well. Viognier is one of the love-hate varieties. I think 10 years ago plus. People call that the Virginia grape. And it's interesting that Jody's comment about the vineyard, and it seems like Virginia and the Viognier and the winery is easy enough. It's wine's wine, but in the vineyard, Viognier is a bit of a nightmare. So we found that so that is one of the struggles. But we have a fair amount of Viognier and really lovely Viognier. A very unknown variety, Petit Manseng, found home here in Virginia. I think Petit Manseng, because like we spoke about, the climate can be quite temperamental here. Petit Manseng seem to be a bit more resilient. And that's also one of the sort of love-hate, more winemakers loving Petit Manseng, I think, because it is such a hardy variety for the tough conditions here. So those are the main varieties. There is a bit of Gruner Veltliner, the Austrian variety.
Yes.
The Gruners
So
are really
good.
cool.
So
We're going to
good.
bottle our first Gruner in the next week or two. And geez, I'm really excited about the Gruner. So we had a little bit, like a fraction of an acre, another bit more planted. We're going to increase the plantings, and I think Jody and we can talk about it, maybe increase that in the future. That is, I really
That's
enjoy the
wonderful. I
Gruners.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of.
You have to come and have some of it.
I do.
The
It
wine's
is
magic.
beautiful. It is beautiful.
And then there's we also another experiment, a bit of Albarino. I tasted last at the Governor's Cup last month, and there's some really good Albarinos from like that Spanish Portuguese
Yes.
border.
Exactly.
So I think it's all again found a home here. Some really cool Albarinos I've tasted, and we've also ordered some vines that's also getting planted soon. So that's on the white side, and on the reds, we'll talk about the wines as we taste them. But Petit Verdot again coming to its own. All over the world, people use it as a blending variety, but we've just found in Virginia, this central Virginia, that the Petit Verdots can really make a beautiful standalone wine. And then Cabernet Franc. I think Cabernet Franc is probably leading. When it comes to the personality of Virginia, I think Cabernet Franc is the variety.
Yes.
We have a fair amount of Merlot as well, and I must say we don't see a lot of varietal Merlots in Virginia. But we've got some really nice Merlot from 23 Harvest and Tank. We just may do a single varietal Merlot this year. Really excited about that possibility.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's true,
We've
you
used
don't
it for
see-
Yeah, you don't
blending.
see that a lot here. Yeah.
We've used it for blending and for the rosé,
Yeah.
and it is going to be pretty exciting to have a new varietal. We have 70 acres, just to kind of set the stage of what we already have planted. We have on the Castalia property, which is where our tasting room is located, off of Whipper Inn Lane and Stony Point Pass in Keswick. We have 50 acres there. 20 acres at Ben Coolin, which is right down the road. Then we have another 10 acres on Turkey Sag at another property. So that gets us to 80 acres. That won't produce until next year.
Okay.
And then we're planting this additional 10. So 90 acres
So you
is
will have 90 acres.
90 acres is what we'll have under vine total across the, several properties, and the varietals just, that Bola mentioned. So
That's
it's a good,
impressive.
it's a good
So-
production.
So before you actually plant the varietals, do you kind of look to see how, the temperature and weather here matches that with the particular, vine that you're thinking of planting, or is it more, let's see what happens?
No, there's a lot of studies. So there's soil analysis. I'm not sure if it was in your time, Jody, or before your time, that they've done a complete soil analysis.
Okay.
So that is one thing that we look at. And then we look at the climate. I think the problem is you look at the morphology, the sort of the grapes, how the grapes grow. More so that because of the humidity that we find here and untimely rain. So your tighter clusters. I'm from South Africa. Like I said, Chenin Blanc is very popular there. You can't grow Chenin here; it's going to rot. So there are other things. There are numerous things that it's not only the soil and the rainfall and the actual temperatures, but there's other things involved as well that sort of specific problems here that you may bring into account. There's been some. It's the Virginia industry. We all talk about Jefferson. What is that? About 250 years ago. So the industry's been going for a very long time, but really it's only 30, 40 years. Where there's been sort of renewed energy, sort of producing quality wine, and there's been a lot of experimentation. So I must say that there's something that I came to experience since I arrived here, is this whole the community and how people work together here in Virginia.
The
It's
winemaking
amazing.
community
The
in
winemaking specific.
Charlottesville is
there's-
amazing.
There's a community or an industry body called Winemakers Research Exchange. I think Emily from Veritas founded that, where all the winemakers get together, and it's funded by Department of Agriculture, Virginia Department of Agriculture, and it's like a PhD graduate that runs it. So everything is scientific.
Right.
All the experiments, and the
Joy
guys do a
Team.
lot of experiments. Yeah, Joy Team
Wow.
does that.
Yes, we get her on. Yes,
Yes,
we've had Joy
I
Team
was
on the
going to
show.
say,
Yes.
I knew
Very
you
bright.
had Joy on.
When you said the exchange, I'm like, is that the same
Yes,
exchange
it
that Joy
is.
was
It
okay, yes.
definitely
very
is,
Bright, very
definitely.
bright researcher, and and they get, and all the wineries, they all participate. And, hey, I'm doing this thing in the vineyard, so sort of dropping crop or controlling the crop or opening the canopies, more sunlight, or in the wine cellar, however they do it, and everything is scientifically sort of written up and researched by Joy, and then presented. So we have, back to your question about what do we plant, there's research done over 10 plus years.
Okay.
It's like proper scientific research, and it's all documented, and it's open. It's anybody can have access to that to see what's worked and what hasn't. So yeah, it's not totally blind. I know that there were some of our neighbors. I think the owner of Horton was known for saying, he's uprooted more vineyards than most people will plant in their lifetime. So there's been a lot of research over the last 20, 30 years where people just experiment. And even today, there's still a lot of bits and pieces that we're planting, sort of, thinking it may or may not work, but, we'll know in 5 or 10 years.
There's a lot of conversation even taking place about clones, the proper clones. There's grafting that the Wine Research Exchange is doing that will allow the conditions and the different things that we experience here in Virginia. Once you graft and you put together these grape varietals that are resistant to some of those things, then you will find it to be a better growing opportunity and success rates that because we're exposed to humidity. You made a great point earlier about the consistencies in California wines. Well, it's number one, the vines are old. Number two, they fight so hard. Number three, they don't have a lot of rain. So they're vigorous, they're bold, they're robust. Whereas, gosh, the winemakers here, they're so, they just have so much opportunity for things to go wrong. It could be a rainstorm. It could be, anything humidity. It could be
right?
rot.
Yeah.
I mean, so many things.
So many late frosts.
Yes,
That's a killer.
yes, yeah, and we're still not past that. Mother's Day. Mother's Day is like the big day in the wine industry here. Back in 2020, the frost of the Mother's Day really destroyed a lot of crops and made it very difficult for winemakers here in the Charlottesville area. And gosh, we just get past that point, and then it's like, okay, now we have other things to worry about. But yeah, frost is definitely something. So
Yeah, the frost finishes, and now the humidity is.
is
and
here. Rain and all
rain,
those
yep.
good things. All those good things. So, but we need to get you tasting
absolutely,
something. I mean,
absolutely. That was gonna
be my next question.
seriously.
I would
start.
say, I wonder is, does the climate also provide anything to the grape? In other words, the one thing about California is you drink those wines, and to a certain respect, they all taste the same, right? And I'm not going to say they're all exactly the same, but there's a consistency, but they're all the same. Is there something about being in Virginia, though, that does change the quality, the flavor of the wine, so that maybe every year it's like, wait a minute, this year this is what it tastes like. The next year is like, wow, this is different, and that doesn't make it bad. If anything, maybe it makes it good.
It's fun.
That's an interesting comment. So I'm just going to start pouring.
Go for it.
It is, what's it now? Is it?
No, okay.
Is it like 4 o'clock in South Africa? I think it's definitely time for a glass of wine. No, it's that is quite interesting. And like JD said, when I arrived here, the vineyard side is really important to us, and I have seen that the first ones are Viognier. I'm sure anybody can
So
read
this
that
is
label.
the traditional.
The 21.
This is the Virginia grape.
This is the Virginia grape.
And just so you know, we brought our cards here, our flight cards, to share with you.
Top winners.
So yes, we have on this, we have 2 Governor's gold medal winners, 2 silvers, even though we have other silver medal winners that aren't on the card. But we did bring you the card. We do pay homage to where we're growing, I'm sorry.
There we go. Show it to me. There you go.
We do pay homage to where we are growing our wine, which is the Monticello wine region. And if you have heard any news in the last, say, 6 months, it has been that in November they announced that, in February, I guess it was November. November they announced that we won as a wine region, the #1 wine region in the entire world, as recognized by the Wine Enthusiast magazine. So.
Wow.
Absolutely huge for the Monticello Wine Trail, Virginia wines, and something to be super proud of.
Absolutely.
And really, truthfully, you get this honor once in a lifetime. And I have to give, a lot of credit to the Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau. Courtney and Brantley over there were the ones who actually filled out the application with Wine Enthusiasts for the recognition, and they won. And so they narrowed it down to 5 other places, one in South South Africa, one in Italy, Australia,
Provence, South
and
of France.
Provence, yes. So we were up against
tough
some very
competition, yeah.
strong
Yes.
competition. So I must make sure that gets recognized. And then in the state, the Virginia Governor's Cup is where these awards are given. So that's what this is coming from. And so our two gold medal winners are the Petite Manseng and the Cab Franc from 2021. And then the silver medal are the Viognier and the Petite Verdot Reserve, again, others. And then there is a Monticello wine trail within our region as well. And those awards are going to be announced at the end of the month during Monticello Wine Trail Week, which is the April 26th through May the 2nd. So there's lots of special events in town for people to go and enjoy red wines, white wines, rosés, see the Governor's Cup or the Monticello Wine Trail winners. So I'll let Bola go back to talking about Viognier and let you taste it, but I
So
couldn't
we're tasting
go.
this.
Yeah.
No, that's
I
good. That's
couldn't
fantastic.
go any
So we're-
further
we're
without
tasting
talking
a
about.
silver medal winner.
You are
I'll
tasting
be
a
honest
silver
with you.
medal.
You know, the first time I had Viognier, and it's such a French word, you think I would be able to do it properly, was probably only about 6 months ago, because I had never really, and because everybody used to say, nah, that's just a Virginia, white wine. So it's like, okay. But finally I tasted it, and it's like, I actually enjoy it. It is
This
a
one
good
is-
one. And this is different.
excellent.
This is excellent, yeah. So it is a good grape.
So this is this is our Viognier, and Viognier typically very ripe, very tropical, that sort of papaya,
Yeah.
riper character, low acidity. So interesting. The next one is the Petit Manseng, which is like very different focus altogether, but really nice sort of textural. We had a
Yes.
dinner last night at South and Central with this Viognier, and this nice sort of texture and sort of palate weight really is an ideal food wine. I think we're
Yes.
very proud of the food culture here in Charlottesville, and this really is really nice, versatile food wine.
Exactly. No,
You're right. It's got a low acidity, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
what I was
got
thinking. Very
it's
smooth.
smooth on your tongue. Yeah, it's very good.
I just want to come back to your previous comment. Sorry, I got sidetracked about the climate. When I started out winemaking, it was we wanted to we said we really want to express. So if you want to make a wine, for instance in this instance, this is Viognier, and it's from the Southwest Mountains region. So it's not it's very specific. It's not a French or Australian or Californian Viognier. This is Viognier, the variety, like you spoke about the flavors, but also this is Southwest Mountains where we are sort of in a global. And then since I arrived here, it's like it's more than just that. And I think the locals, the people in the area, they're aware. Like Jody said, you get these sort of cold snaps and late rains and sort of wet summers or dry summers. And I think the locals will appreciate those differences. So for me, this is, talk about Viognier in Southwest Mountains, it's Viognier, Southwest Mountains of a specific moment, that 2021
Yes.
vintage. And I think that is something it's up to us to communicate that. I
Yes.
think we're not making a commodity. It's not like sort of, exact same from one year to the following. That's the beauty of what we do. It's not a big mass-produced product that we put in the market. It really is, you go into the vineyard and you bring that into the winery, and that's a snapshot. This is a snapshot of what we do in that particular moment, and next year will be different. And then, so that's the beauty. So people come back to the estate, and it's not like, oh well, we had this last year or the year before. It's exciting because the new releases are different because of what's happening outside in the vineyard, because of what Mother Nature gives us.
Exactly.
So
Well,
that
that's
really
the
makes the
beauty of
winemaking
it.
really exciting.
Yeah.
That's
And-
the beauty of it. Like you said, once you convey it to people and explain to them, look, this isn't like you go to the store and you buy this, million bottle produced wine, and it's going to be exactly the same every single time you drink it. But once you convey that, I think there's an excitement to it. And like you said, there's a reason to go back and try a new year, because it's not going to be an identical wine.
Exactly.
You're going to experience on your palate kind of what the grapes experienced that year.
Well, you also have the huge advantage, too, when you have a winemaker and you have the ability to have a production facility, which we built, a beautiful, brand new state-of-the-art production facility when we opened in September. And in doing so, and having a winemaker who is intimate with your grapes, you can go into different blocks because they're on different spaces and places on the properties. The same varietal might be grown further back on a piece of property or elevate it a little bit more. And then you can kind of isolate those and pick them differently. If you see some advantages, you can pick a small block of them. You don't have to pick all of them and put them in a large tank and do it all the same way. You can capitalize on doing something very special with what you have to work with. And we are very fortunate, that we have, some of that opportunity.
And let's be honest, I mean, that's the other thing about when you think about Virginia, right? I mean, you'll get a thunderstorm, and there's times where it's like my wife calls me, we're like 10 minutes away. Oh, the thunderstorm is horrendous here. It's the wind and stuff, and it's like I'm in the office like there's nothing. And it never hits us, right? So it's the same thing. A vineyard
with 70 acres, right? You should be 90.
One area gets a little more sun,
Right.
so even that in itself can just change. It's like somebody may say, oh, our white wines didn't come out very well this year, and you're like, no, ours was terrific this year.
So true.
And
so
it's
true.
Just because of
and Crozet, you think about it, you've got the whole Crozet, Waynesboro, Stanton, the Shenandoah, region. You have mountain ranges that kind of cut off different spaces. Yes. So a storm could get trapped on one side of the mountain, never make it to the other side. So something could taste very different. And elevation too. I mean, there's so many variables, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm quite excited about the Turkey Sag property that Jody mentioned, because at the moment Castella is just that Sismond Market, Ben Coolen, close to the Keswick Post Office. That's about 3 miles, so they're relatively similar. There are differences, but they're sort of in the same ballpark. But Turkey Sag is another 600 feet elevation and completely different soil. So we're definitely going to do something. I know that the older son, that's his property, and he's like, geez, but why aren't my vines? They don't look the same, and everything is like. But that's the magic. That's the beauty, and for us then in the winery to sort of it's distinguish and separate those wines and do something special and different. So it really is quite exciting. So more exciting things to come.
And as you mentioned, the one thing about wine, because I notice sometimes we'll get a wine, open up on a wine, right? My wife's not a big wine drinker. But every once in a while, she'll say, We're
going to change that.
She's Italian, you would think, right? But so she'll taste the wine and she'll say, oh, wow, this is really good. And I'm sitting there going, that's funny because I didn't really like this one. So the whole point is that everybody's palate is different, right?
Sure.
So even that, the change, the fact that one year to another changes, like you may taste it one year, say, this is not quite what I like. And then next year you go back and say, wow, this is like terrific, right? So it's an adventure. I mean, in reality, what Virginia brings is an adventure to wines, but they're good, right?
So one thing that Bola hasn't mentioned in his history and some of the accolades that he has been given over the course of his career is that he offers very minimalistic kind of tinkering with the wines. He lets the wines kind of produce the beauty of the land and the terroir, and lets them kind of express themselves. And so he does that, and that's what his reputation has been for many, many years. Accolades as being the #1 Chardonnay maker in the world, right? So we feel really blessed to have somebody who is so intimate with the wines, and we are really proud. I mean, we wouldn't have Southwest Mountains Vineyards on our labels if we weren't proud of where the wine is coming from. So to have somebody who appreciates that and pulls it all together is pretty cool.
And can talk to the grapes, and he knows how they feel.
Yeah,
that's important.
And in the music that they play in the production facility, I'm like, what are they like? What are they listening to? What's on Spotify for the grapes today, right? That's fun.
As we taste this one, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs here. Elizabeth Durpee watching the show this morning. Rosalia Tordara from New York watching the show this morning. Thanks for joining us. Dean Russell watching the show this morning. I think Dean, he either is a fan of South Africa or he's from there, but he's got a little flame with a South African flag that he's putting up there. So I think he's really pushing. He's thrilled that Bolas, he's from South Africa. Jerry's telling me he is from there. So Dean, thanks for tuning in this morning, and he's sharing the pride. Linda Irvin, watching the show this morning, says, good morning, thanks for this educational discussion. She's learning a lot.
Oh, good.
From it, she got the grape, the wine glass, and the heart. So, yep.
Thanks, Linda. Cheers to Linda. Here.
Salud, Linda.
Salud.
So this is Petit saying, and we touched on it earlier. It's like it's interesting. Petit, but the bunches are quite big, but the berries are tiny. and very loose bunches. It's quite amazing comparing that to most other varieties, Viognier, Chardonnays. You can, if you shake the bunch, the berries are loose. So I think coming back to the humidity and the challenges that bring, Petit Manseng really is quite resistant. So due to those challenges, but yeah, the acidity quite fresh comparing that to the
Yes.
Viognier.
Yeah.
But again, we spoke about
Exactly.
food, but this freshness of the Petit Manseng, it really adds a total different dimension and sort of experience. I did a tasting a week or two ago at the Wine Guild. Not too far from here, and it was quite interesting. So we had the Viognier and we had the Petit Manseng next to each other, and it is pretty much. Some people really appreciate the more textural, sort of lower acidity drinkability of the Viognier, and then you get other wine drinkers like no, they don't like the Viognier, they like that freshness, they like the acidity. So so it is really good. And then we have a white blend. Figure that a white blend where we
it's
actually
so
blend it to,
good.
where you get the palate weight of the Viognier and just the acidity of the Petit Manseng to balance. So but it really is quite interesting to see that people have their preferences, and that's the beauty of wine. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It is it's preference.
It's what- yeah,
and
it's
it
what
depends
you
also if you're, what kind of food you're eating.
what you're
If you're eating a food that has like a thick
completely.
sauce or whatever, you want a little bit of that acidity,
want some
right?
more acidity sometimes,
But
yeah.
but there are times where it's like, no, you're not interested in that. But wow,
You'll notice we don't have very much residual sugar either. We're not overall a sweet wine vineyard. Just to kind of set the stage, we don't have sweet wines. That's not really our protocol in terms of the wines that we're making.
That's
But
okay with me.
when people do ask us, do you have a sweet wine, we will kind of guide them a little bit if they like white wines to the white blend.
Okay, yes. Okay, because that'll
Yeah.
it'll kind of resemble sweetness without actually being a sweet wine. 'Cause I know
Correct,
sometimes
correct.
I notice the Viognier kind of does that a little bit. In other words, I call it like a palate fooler. In other words, it gives you the sensation of like,
That's got
oh
such a good
yeah,
word.
it might be like, but it's not really. There's no sugar. It's not sweet at all,
Yeah.
right? But it can kind of deceive you, almost like there are some whiskeys and things you may have, right, where you'll taste it and be like, it's not sweet at all, but it has a sensation that's smooth. And if you were gonna find something that's dry but could fool you into being sweet, it would be something like
Right,
that.
I get it,
Whereas,
yeah.
the Petit Manseng with its acidity, you're not, or a Gruner Veltliner, right? You're never going to
No,
be fooled.
definitely, yeah.
You will never mistake the Gruner Veltliner for a Riesling.
No.
Right? The first time I had it, because I ever had that variety was in Austria. And I just had been this assumption, right? Oh yeah, German Austrian wines, they're sweet. And I taste them and I'm like, nope, this is not a sweet wine.
Nope.
This is a bold, strong wine. So it's just, and what is this red variety that we have here?
So this is Cabernet Franc. And that's
Beautiful.
like I touched earlier, that is just a magic variety.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. So when after I was spoken to Jody and I met the team here the first time, November 22, and we decided we're going to sort of join forces going forward. I had a conversation with Matthew Fino from King Family. There was an interesting conversation. So I was trying to wrap my head around. I haven't tasted this wine yet, and just a conversation coming. He's from the Rhone Valley. Like I said, being at King for like 15 years now. And I said to him, Matthew, so the Cabernet Francs, is it like Loire Cabernet Franc, the more sort of leafy herbal Loire Cabernet Franc? Was it more Bordeaux Saint-Emilion, a bit broad shoulders? And he said to me, Bulla, this is Virginia Cabernet Franc. So you can't put it in a box. And again, I think I'm back to Jody's point also, but really expressing what we have here. And it really is sort of deliberating, sort of, there's no box, you basically do. And again, I think Jody again touched on, the climate. It's amazing. You also spoke about, localized thunderstorms. It's amazing how even in the Monticello region, how different the wines are from an area like Crozet
Right.
to the Southwest Mountain Corridor. And it's not that it's better or it's just different. It's
just different.
And
Exactly.
we have found that how stylistically they are very different. But yeah, tasting the 21 Cabernet Franc, I just fell in love with the variety. This really is, there's complexity. It's not a big, bold, sort of, in-your-face style of wine. It's very subtle, very elegant, but geez, there's just so much flavor, so much complexity. It really is a complete wine. I think this is a fabulous wine.
And this is a love of Virginia, too, from a red perspective. You're finding more and more people talking about Cap Francs in Virginia. So this is one that I would, continue to watch. This actual wine itself could be laid down a little bit longer, too. It's still, tasting a tad young. So you do have the ability to lay it down and age it, which is something important to think about as you're drinking wine, and where it can take where you can take those wines in the future. And so again, part of some of the dialogue and conversations that we have are to help educate people on, how long you should hold on to something, and when it might taste a little bit different.
So I'm curious because I can see the excitement every time he talks about the wine and the grapes but so do you get the opportunity now to open up? So when you're talking about holding on, letting the bottles letting mature in the bottle and let it grow. So do you get a chance to say open up a bottle and say, yeah, we're not going to release these yet?
100%.
Okay.
100%. We actually, when we opened, we've only been open since September, so a little over 6 months to the public for the tasting room. And when we first opened, we had a 2021 Petite Verdot, and it was it's too tight. It's drinking way too young. And so we had it out and we questioned it ourselves a little bit. Yeah. And then people gave us their reaction. Mm-hmm. It wasn't quite as good as what some of the other wines. So we took it and put it back in inventory and laid it down. And we'll bring it back out when it's ready and when it's appropriate. But we are very fortunate because we do have inventory. So we picked another red and brought that red out, and people are just in love with our wines. We get a lot of positive feedback about our wines, and I think it is because they do have a couple of years on them.
Yes.
So it's nice.
So that's a great advantage to be able to kind of have them where here we are in 2024 and we're looking at 2021 wines, 2022 wines. In other words, they've had some time.
And we have 2019 and 20s as well, at the winery that we drink as our tastings. We have several different tasting flights for people to try, but yeah.
No, I just wanted to add on before Jody pointed out that we sold the red blend and the Petit Verdot are from 2019 vintage. So it is on the one hand it's great for us. It's a new facility with everything is brand and then shining and new. But also we have wines that's with 5 years of maturation. Yes. So that really makes a big difference. And that's something I've found. Even the white wines, there's often a perception that white wines need to hit the market soon. And we've seen that the white wines, obviously the reds. I mean that's sort of more commonly known that reds, often quality reds get better with a bit of age, but we've seen the white wines as well. The white blend that I mentioned earlier, just, with the extra year or two of bottle maturation, really brings so much more complexity and viscosity. There's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. Because, there's nothing scientifically, right, that would indicate that a white wine becomes worse over time. I think historically, right, people would say, okay, it doesn't get any better, but it's not like it degrades or anything. It's still.
I think that's a matter of opinion. What
or is
you
that,
say,
is that something
Bola? Because I know that.
No, but it's also a matter of quality. There are certain wines, and there are certain wines I've made. There's saying that most wines, supermarket wines, are consumed within 24 hours of consumption. So there's a certain style of and that goes back. You farm the grapes for that particular style of wine. So it's from the vineyard to the winery. It's made to for easy consumption. It's bright and fresh when it's young, but really 12 months later, it's probably time to say goodbye. So that really depends on the style and the quality. What the wines are made for. So it's not untrue that certain style of whites, once you buy them, it's not going to get any better. Yeah. But your quality producers all over the world, the wines definitely
are made to get better.
And they will get better with proper cellaring.
Yes. Okay.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, exactly.
I also feel like, when you talk about California, they do have white wines that they tell you, you can have them in your cellar for years, right? And so I don't think we got to your cup.
We can swap
okay.
them,
Okay.
I didn't know. It's fantastic.
Good. But yes, you can keep them for longer. And so it's just nice for us to have the 2020 white blend. And the white blend, the word white blend doesn't do it justice, right? You kind of think of a white blend, you think, oh, they've just thrown everything together.
Yeah, exactly.
It really doesn't do it justice, but at the
all the leftover stuff they put in.
You'd love to be able to call it an estate white, right? But at the time that we were doing that wine, we produced the wines on the property, but we didn't actually bottle them We grew them, but we didn't produce and bottle them on the property, so that we could not call it estate white. Now that we have the production facility on site, we can do all of that, so it can be an estate white.
estate white.
And so it just sounds a little bit better. But gosh, when people drink our white blend, they're like, "Oh, this is so good, so good, so good."
And
So,
is this
yeah.
the petite?
This is the Petit
Verdot,
Verdot Reserve.
yes.
So
This one
yeah,
is
yeah. And if you looked
definitely
at
right up my alley.
I was going to say, if you looked at our bottles have a unique story to them. So, our core brand labels are all white, but our reserve bottles do have a red label on them. All of them have buttons on them. So it's almost like what's the Blanton's, I guess, bourbon, right? Where you collect
yes.
the cool tops, right?
Yep.
So ultimately, when we worked with the company out in California and we did all of our branding and marketing and created the labels, we actually had a methodology in mind. So these buttons are the same size as what would be on a coat of the fox
really?
hunter. And so each of these have an
A different
embossed
little animal, I think,
illustrate.
right?
Well, it's all
it-
related to fox hunting. So it could be the fox, as you see here,
Yes.
and it's embossed. You can touch it, and it's raised.
Oh, that's really nice.
And then you've got the riding coat. You've got the dog.
The dog. Okay, I saw the
yeah,
dog.
so you've
Okay.
got the dog. So all of them are a representation, because really there's so much fellowship in Keswick to the fox hunt. And they don't kill the fox. That's not the methodology and the goal anymore. It really
Yes,
truly
the world.
is about community. It's about gathering. It's about land preservation. And our winery is built on a piece of property that is under land conservation. And so they open up their gates, and that's how, the different farms and estates out there, that's how they start to build their fellowship in their community. They
Yes.
share their properties, and they do this together. And so anyways, we paid homage to the Keswick area and the love, and our owner's wife, Diane, she fox hunts, and she just thought this was just fantastic. So
It is a beautifully designed
it
label,
really
yeah.
is.
Yeah,
really
it's
is.
got a great
Labels are
story.
beautiful, yeah.
And
labels are beautiful.
speaking of the land, tell us a little bit about the new tasting rooms.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've seen pictures. I mean, the views are also. I mean, this is not just like land that's good for growing vines. It is beautiful land.
It is.
Just looking at it.
it is. It's at the base of the Southwest Mountains. Southwest Mountains run all the way down behind Monticello. It was land that Thomas Jefferson said it was the Eden, where things could grow the best. And so for him, when he came and he was looking for land, and when he was planting his grapes, he was looking at doing it in this mountain range. So yes, we're at the base of that mountain. We have a beautiful, historic, old pole barn that was renovated back in 2015. And we, like I said, opened to the public in September of 2023. We have two levels. We do have food. So our upper level is tableside dining. So you can get food and wine. We do all of that by reservation through Talk. And then our lower level is first come, first serve. And so we have a second tasting bar on the lower level. We have chairs and more of a pub style effect on the first floor. Lots of patios and outdoor seating. Kids are welcome on the first floor, the first come, first serve area, 21 and older up on the second
above,
level. But lots of space for, children to play and, really enjoy, or families to enjoy the space. And then you can taste on either level. And we do have a grab and go marketplace. So for families that are looking for snacks or, salamis and cheeses and breads and things, crackers, that we've got all that for them there. So it's wonderful. It's a perfect environment. And our chef, who actually creates our food for us, he came to us, Chef Gregory from Maya. He was with Maya for about 11 years. And so we're so blessed to have him.
That's right.
And so he creates, we're a farm winery. We're not a commercial winery. We're not a restaurant. So we have limitations of what we can do.
Yeah.
But with the limitations, he really creates beautiful things. So,
Absolutely, that's wonderful, and it's a beautifully designed space.
Thank you.
The interior
Thank
of
you.
the tasting room
Thank
as
you.
well. I mean, if you check out the website, which is smvwines.com,
You got it.
You click tasting room, you can see. I mean, the homepage kind of gives you the beauty of the land, and then you hit tasting room, you can kind of see some of the design of the of the tasting room, which is really just beautiful. And I can tell by really large windows that the view
It
must
is
be
great.
incredible.
It is great.
And,
we
I've heard the dining is delicious.
It is so good. And
you can pair it with.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do pairings, and
Yeah.
we have music every weekend from 1 to 4.
Oh.
So it's sometimes outside, it's sometimes inside, depending upon the weather. But these bands and groups that we bring out have their own following as well, and they've become SMV lovers as well. So yeah,
That's wonderful.
It's fabulous. So
I do have a quick question. So how was the 2023 grapes? How did they come? Just give me a little hint.
No,
You
no,
don't have to-
23 was easy. When I arrived there, people warned me like, it can be difficult, and there's hurricanes and storms.
'cause I don't
and-
think we didn't have much of a wet year last year.
No,
so-
not at all. So I don't know why the winemakers in Virginia are complaining about the weather.
What are they complaining about? I mean,
No, I got lucky the first year. The weather was perfect and the wines are beautiful. Virginia, I think, more commonly known for the quality whites at the moment. But geez, the reds, I think our reds are better than the whites in 23. The reds are beautiful. It really does. Just like everything is right there. So the 23 was really
I'll
good
write
year.
that down. 2023,
I mean,
Southwest.
I'm going to be honest, maybe I'm biased, but the Petit Verdot was my favorite, even of
interesting.
2021.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a little biased.
What do you mean,
towards red.
maybe?
Okay, yeah, maybe not even maybe. We are undoubtedly biased towards red.
I can tell you already like a big bold. You like big bold wines.
That
Yeah,
tends to
yeah,
be of
yeah.
our
I can
where
tell
we
that
lean.
already.
Where we lean.
Quite
Absolutely.
interesting. So we've spoken about Virginia being the grape, or is it Cabernet Franc, or is it Petit Vincent? But it's interesting. So the Governor's Cup, like Jody mentioned, that's the whole Virginia, and the Governor's Cup is quite red wine heavy every year. It's often 2/3 would be red wines, and of those red wines, I would say half the red wines are single varietal Petit Verdots, and then of the remaining, they often Meritage blends. Again, Petit Verdot a large component. So Petit Verdot has a significant presence in the Governor's Cup every year, which is quite interesting. In my previous life, I've worked with Petit Verdot in Cape Town. I've worked with Petit Verdot in France. And it's always been like 2%, 5% of a blend. It's never really the. So I was like, geez, what's wrong with the winemakers in Virginia to bottle single varietal Petit Verdot? I mean, who does that? And I remember the first when we got the Petit Verdots in the winery, I was doing something and I just smelled like this black currant concentrate. I was like, what on earth is going on? So, and then the guys, they did the first pump over on the PVs, and it just filled the whole winery. It's like, I get it. I know why the guys are, they really enjoy, the winemakers really enjoy the PVs and bottle it a single varietal. So, that's, but you can get it in the glass, it's right there.
Yeah.
Which
It's amazing,
I
it
think
really
that's
is.
the beauty of the different
Yeah.
landscape, right? That it could be where Europe is and other places are growing Petit Verdot, where that's the one you stick in, but where what happens to it in Virginia? Because it's true. I mean, I've had some in Virginia that and it's funny. I would say I've never had a Petit Verdot out that wasn't a Virginia.
I
Petit
don't
Verdot.
know any Petit Verdot that's.
Yes, I mean, maybe if it's in a red blend from somewhere
Yeah,
and I
well,
haven't
it's
bothered
possible,
to
yeah.
look at the last
Yeah.
list item on the list, but I've only ever had it Virginia, and it's always been excellent.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that there is a little bit of an awareness that'll take place in how you look at things going forward, though. Because I will tell you in the last couple of years where I wouldn't have looked for a Petit Verdot somewhere else,
can find them.
I can find them other places now. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because we truthfully are old world, we use the old world style, varietals
Yeah.
in Virginia. And so now you kind of, you go, I get it.
Yes.
I get it. That and Tannat is another varietal that I think, I start to see more of that I wasn't aware of. In 2022, it was such a wet year. And we had so much moisture and wet in the grapes. Like, things didn't have the beautiful colors that they, do in 2023. It's just crazy just how one year affects the other. And then what do you do with that wine to give it its robust color? Because otherwise it looks flat and doesn't have as much character. So, yeah.
How interesting. Yeah, well, maybe it's one of those things, right? We're showing the old world some things you could do with their own grapes to the old world. We've had that. We just never thought of, doing it by itself.
Yeah, and Jefferson thought he could bring any, clone or lot in and plant it here and it would be successful. And it wasn't. He proved himself. I think I forget what the statistic is, but it's crazy. And so there's a lot of history there.
But it's interesting what you're saying because Petit Vincent, for instance, I mean that's grown in the eastern, the sort of alpine region of France, and people don't really know about it. They make these sort of sherry-style wines in the Jura region there, but it's quite even it's a small part of the business. So if you Google Petit Vincent, Virginia pops up. So your comment about sort of Virginia showing the old world, where the grapes from, what can actually do with the variety, it's not untrue.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. And more people tuning in. Ina Vasilovic, thank you for tuning in. Lucrecia Morales, thanks for watching this morning. Really appreciate everyone. I think I spotted one more who popped in, but my apology if I missed your name. But thank you all for tuning in this morning. This has been such a pleasure.
It's been amazing.
It's been amazing. I've learned so much. Had some amazing wines.
Yeah, they've all been
They've all been excellent. Excellent.
I mean, it's just amazing.
Please come out and visit us.
We'll do
No,
it.
we will.
That was
We
going to be
will.
my next question. So if people want to find out more and come visit you guys, where should they go?
Well, truthfully, the smvwines.com is the best place to go. So many people forget the S on the end of mountains and vineyards, but if you do put something in and you're Googling it, it's Southwest Mountains Vineyards. So don't forget the S's because that makes a difference. But yeah, you can find us on the social. We have a Spotify. We do Spotify. We have fun things going on. And like I said, we have different events that we do at the winery. So we have an events page on our website. So we do, we're having a Blessing of the Vines at the end of April. So something
wonderful.
different and something
Yes.
fun. We do wine dinners. We have a wine club. All of these things are really important to any winery, but we have them all, and we're really excited. And again, we're only 6 months in. Imagine in 3 years what it's going to be
Right,
like, right?
absolutely, yeah.
That's amazing
yeah.
to think.
We do yoga on, one Sunday a month already. So we're doing fun things. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it really is fantastic wine. I mean, especially with the coming season, I can't think of anything better than to go out there.
Come
and
drink
enjoy
some
it.
rosé
Yes.
on the deck.
Absolutely.
I
Right?
want to know how do I get his job? No.
Yeah, you're going to have to fight.
No, absolutely not. I don't have.
No, I have to say
any part of
the
experience,
appreciation
but
I
just-
have, because I know obviously 2023 was on the a lighter year, but the appreciation I have though for winemakers like you in this area, because you were doing a lot to bring out of not the easiest environment, excellent wine. So it's amazing what you've been able to do, and we're excited that you're here.
Well, you know what? You haven't even tasted his wine yet, so
I know.
we're really
Yeah.
excited to get
looking
some
forward to that.
allocations out there of Bulla
Yes.
and Bulla's team. Bulla's assistant winemaker is Jeremy Mersch, who came to us from Early Mountain, and then we have a cellar manager who's come from the industry and a cellar lead who has California experience. So he's got a very strong team. So together they're creating some pretty super stuff for 2023. So we can't wait to taste it and get it out into the public. And we have a lot of our club members. Our club member is already over 300 strong very quickly. And they're really excited to taste Bulla's wines.
That's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to that, too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think there's a better way to end it. Jerry confirms Dean, our friend Dean, is from Benoni Gauteng, South
awesome.
Africa. So showing the pride there.
love it.
And
I love
we're
it.
glad that you've come here to Virginia, and we're glad for the work that you're doing here at Southwest Mountains Vineyard, really
Thank
making
you.
amazing wine. So we're looking forward to see.
absolutely.
Well,
I mean,
thank you
6
both.
months in, we'll be glad to have you back in the
Well,
future.
come see us. Come see
We
us.
definitely
Will
will.
do.
We definitely
Absolutely will do.
Awesome. And we're going to leave the rest of the wines for you.
Thank you
so
so much.
take
Thanks
them home
very
and
much.
enjoy.
Appreciate
Please.
it. Thank you
Please.
so
Awesome.
much. Well, this has been a
That was
fantastic
great.
show.
That was great, wasn't it?
Don't even need your finance segment because we were so into it.
You
We
wouldn't,
used
you
the whole.
wouldn't want that now.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you really want to take your time to finance
Oh,
anymore?
man, this is great.
But this
yeah.
has been an amazing show. Really appreciate Jody and Bola coming
You
on.
know, it's what's wonderful is that you get to experience, and like I said, the thing about Virginia is that every single winery in a way is unique, right? And you get to experience their challenges, how they go about it. But I think Bola said something very interesting to me. He says it's almost educational. In other words, it's important to educate people saying that, yeah, this is not California, this is not certain places in Europe, this is Virginia, right? So every single year, it's a different wine to a certain respect. You may be looking at the same, Viognier or Petit Mansan or whatever it may be, but in essence, it depends on what happened during that year. And he says, if we could put that into, educate people saying, hey, this year, yeah, it was a rainy season, and therefore you're going to find more of this type of flavor. And somebody may say, yeah, hey, wait, that's what I like. That's what I want, right? And the next year, it may be complete reverse. And I think that's the, in a way, the beautiful thing about Virginia wines is that every single year, maybe the same, vineyard, and maybe the same kind of grape, but the flavor's a little different. So you have to go there and say, I got to see what this tastes like this year, because you just never know. Maybe, wow, this is better than last year, right? So, I mean, I take my hats off, because it's, and I can imagine, I'm just talking from the point of view of drinking, but if you're out there and you got the humidity and you got the bugs and you got all this stuff and you're saying, I got to save these grapes, what do I do?
It's like what you go through with your garden, except on a huge scale.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On a much more sensitive scale.
Exactly.
Like zucchini can survive a couple bugs.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, yeah. Zucchini,
Grapes are
eggplants,
also
and stuff like that, yeah.
Grapes are just very fresh.
I'm not trying to sell it. It's just like, just eat it, guys. Big deal. So.
The eggplant was small this year. Deal with it.
Exactly.
Fry it. And then just solve that problem.
Right.
Just really appreciated Southwest Mountains Vineyards coming on. So it's been fantastic. It's been great to be on here with you.
Same here as always.
Shout out, thank you. I think Clara Tosha, loving the show this morning. Thank you, Clara, for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who tuned in, sent us their really supportive comments. Always appreciate our fantastic viewers from. I mean, we were as far as Linda Irvin says yes, she's looking forward to Bola's wines as well. So are we. So are we. That makes everyone in this room.
Bola's under a lot of pressure. I could just see it now.
He is under a lot of pressure.
So really appreciate everyone who tuned in. Next week, another great guest, Matthias Yohn, for our monthly meetup with Matthias is going to be joining us. Always fun to have him on and chat with him. Thank you, of course, everyone who tuned in today. Thank you, Judah, behind the camera, making us all look good. Love being here on the I Love CVille Network set. Thank you once again to Emergent Financial Services, to our great partners at Matthias Yohn Realty, Credit, Sirius Insurance, Forward Adelante. Thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, Alex, for inviting me again.
Oh, I always love being on with you. Always love being on with you. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure to see all of you. Have a wonderful week. We look forward to seeing you next week on the show. But until that time, as we like to close it out, hasta mañana.